Well, if you collect movie posters like I do, you are going to want to learn everything about this new documentary, which is about movie posters. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and yes, guilty as charged. I collect movie posters. I have for years. I have movie posters I had when I was a kid taped up in my bedroom they're a little crumbly because I wasn't really sophisticated. I used to put them up with pins, and I used to put tape on the back. I have learned since then, you need to frame your movie posters. But before we talk to director Kevin Burke about his documentary about movie posters, I need to tell you about Film Threat's annual event, Award This, because I want you to be there. Because I know, for the most part, you're not going to the Oscars. Either am I. And I'm not going to the Independent Spirit Awards, but there is a whole group out there of independent films. I know because I cover them all year. I talk to independent filmmakers on the podcast, and we cover them on filmthreat.com that don't get the love that they deserve. And that's why I created an event called Award This.
In a world where every award show is a fucking Zoom call, comes Award This. From your pals at Film Threat comes a celebration of true independent films. Join us on April 10th at a socially distanced drive-in. In fact, I'll be there as your announcer, wearing a hazmat suit and inside a giant Bacta tank. And prepare for a virtual award show unlike any other ever in the history of mankind. Or awards kind. Award This 2021. It's happening, whether you like it or not. Drive-in live event on Saturday, April 10th. Virtual award show on Sunday, April 18th. Get tickets now at awardthis.com.
I hope you'll join us. It's going to be very special, and it's your opportunity to discover independent films that you must know about in all genres, all categories. Well, let's talk to Kevin Burke about his documentary 24 by 36, a movie about movie posters. Kevin, I wasn't kidding at the beginning when I said I had this it's a poster from Star Wars that is like a painting of a shot right from the Death Star trench run. That's one of the older posters that I have, among many others. I have them rolled up. I've even got, this is sitting right next to me in my room here. This holds movie posters. It's
that's rad, man.
Giant lightsaber that is a poster holder, so that when you buy posters, say at a nerdy convention, I have to bring this back to show you. When you buy movie posters at some convention, you can carry it and keep them safe inside your giant size lightsaber here. But I'm not as legit a movie poster fan as you, because you actually made a documentary about movie posters. So I imagine you must have a massive collection.
I do, as a matter of fact, mostly screen prints now. So like the limited edition stuff that's put out by companies like Mondo and Scuzzles and Gray Matter Art. I have a huge collection of that stuff. As a matter of fact, it's right behind me. I've got a coffee table that doubles as a poster display and a flat file where I can keep them all. Because those types of posters you do not want to keep rolled up, because they'll get damaged and everything. But I have quite a large collection.
Well, my first question to you is, where can I get a coffee table that doubles as a flat file? Because I feel like I need that. I have so many. I keep my posters rolled. I do have a bunch that are framed to put on the wall. But, where do you did you just build it?
Actually, it's a funny story. A good friend of mine was going to school to learn how to build furniture at the time that I was making my film. And he needed a prototype project for school. So he decided to build me a flat file and give it to me as a gift, which was pretty rad.
What's your friend's contact information? Because I feel like, are there plans? Is this something I can build? Like you could post the instructions on YouTube and I can follow the explainer?
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I'm not much of a builder myself, but his name is Richard Chan, and I believe his website is Azizing Design, AZIZING Design.
Well,
he does a lot of good custom work.
I love the idea of making a coffee table into a utilitarian use, which would be a flat file.
Yeah, man.
But let's get into this documentary. First of all, I'm a little upset with myself that I wasn't aware of your doc. So I'm glad that I was able to see it and discover it. So thank you for that. But what I love about the doc,
it's a small film. A lot of people are unaware of it.
Well, I want to bring awareness to people because it's been out for a while, but it is available on demand on iTunes and the video on demand and all that. But what I love about the doc is it gets into a lot of things that I was so happy that you covered, which is the history of movie posters, why movie posters are shaped the way that they're shaped in certain eras, the different types of posters, even international posters. That's my personal favorite, is when you'll see like the Polish poster for the black hole or something, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. And then you bring it up to the present with poster collectors and this whole world that has blown up with Mondo, where they'll go and artists will officially license a particular property or franchise in order to do a really cool custom of a poster, say for, example, a Clockwork Orange or something like those Mondo posters are just insane. So what made you, it's one thing to be a collector. You made a documentary about movie posters. What made you want to say, okay, I got to tell the story of movie posters? And then one of my favorite parts of the doc, can I just, how about you don't even talk during this podcast? I'll just gush. I'm just going to gush. No, I'm going to stop talking at some point. I'm just super excited about this.
Oh, it's all good, man.
You talk to the poster designers that are discuss like what the trends are. That was one of my favorite parts of the doc. Was you have the poster designers talk about that sort of dumb floating head thing where you see like 3 floating heads and why those are contractually obligated. I saw the poster for Coming to America 2 with Eddie Murphy. And my first thought, I saw it a friend and I'm like, I can't find Waldo on this poster. Where's Waldo? I counted, there were 21 heads on the poster for Coming to America. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I love the trends. One of my favorite trends too, and I remember from working at a video store when I was in high school, it was a type of poster, and you would also see this on video sleeves, it was through a woman's legs with a G-string. You know that one where it's just it's a woman.
There's 2 guys standing in the distance.
And 2 guys, they're either like looking at this, and there's even a Bond poster. I'd love to see a series of posters with that, but you do like Star Wars movies or movies like, Sophie's Choice. And you do like add that like type of, that would be wholly inappropriate.
It would, but you could sell them for sure.
You think so? Like
you're doing a series. Anything serialized now?
Really?
It's a collector's world, man. Everybody buying everything up. They're my age for the most part, born in the 80s, mid 30s to mid 40s or so. And it's a collector's world, dude. Like we grew up with He-Man, where every new, He-Man and G.I. Joe and everything else. So where every new episode was just to introduce a new character that would be on the toy shelves a week later. So you just run out and buy it up, right? Like collecting things is in our blood. So if you have an idea for a poster series, get on it because it'll pop off for sure.
All right. That's my vision is to do the that sort of G-string behind of a woman's legs, but for wholly inappropriate movies. Sophie's Choice, and it's 2 kids looking up with a forlorn look. Sophie's Choice, but it's all just that butt shot. That was such a cliche. As
it was, yeah.
The floating heads thing is really uninspired, but the best part about the doc is it covers all of those like trends, like the Saul Bass ones, those graphic design posters, those and who was it? I don't remember who exactly talked about it, but the fact that a poster would evoke like it's like an image, and like it just it would make your imagination go all these places about what is the movie. It's such an important, I mean, they even roll out like, here's the teaser poster debut, here's the full poster, here's the one sheet, right? So there's usually like 3 major posters for any major studio release. I just think that the studio releases tend to be so uninspired. It's the indie films that really go all out. But
yeah, they tend to a lot more often these days, for sure. And that kind of what you explained is part of the, well, one, part of the impetus for making the film, and 2, part of this real tragedy, in my opinion, in the way that the art has changed, at least the commercial art, and the standard studio posters and the ways that they've changed. I mean, it used to be back in the day where you would see a poster, and this is covered in the film as well, but you would see a poster like Goonies, right? Where they're all kind of hanging from the stalactite in the, the cave, right. And they're all kind of chained together. They're all hanging off one another. And all it was meant to elicit was to generalize a sense of adventure and kind of provoke your imagination to fill in the blanks and say, I want to see this film because that whatever they're going to be doing here is going to be very exciting. People didn't come out of the movie and complain that scene from the poster was never in the film, that they never saw the kids hanging off of the thing. You know what I mean? And it got to a point somewhere along the lines, mainly when, it became easier to get photographic manipulation onto a poster, where people started to complain about, the image on the poster not being in the film. And that's just so heartbreaking to me, because it makes me feel a little bit like we've lost our sense of imagination, and we can't just kind of accept a piece of art for what it is, and especially a piece of marketing art for what it's meant to do, which is invoke a sense of wonder and get us to buy a ticket,
Well, I really love key art that evokes the imagination. I think one that I guess maybe more honest, because those scenes were actually in the movie, was The Empire Strikes Back. You talk about it in the film.
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back was meant to evoke Gone with the Wind, kind of a sweeping romantic epic. I think that's part of the problem with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, not to divert into that, but it was totally lacking in romance, because people forget that the whole adventure of Star Wars was about a kid who got a crush on a girl he saw in a hologram.
Yeah.
He decided he wanted to see if he could find that girl.
Yeah.
I found out later it was a sister, but it started as a love triangle, and I feel like romance is really what was missing from that sequel trilogy. You could do, and many have, hours and hours of podcasts about that, but the posters for the original Star Wars trilogy are just so inspiring. I think in the beginning the marketing was a bit off, in the sense that George Lucas wasn't necessarily involved. And I remember there's a famous story about how they tried to convince George Lucas to rename the movie Star Wars. Because, because the marketing department at Fox said, we did our market research. People think the movie is about celebrities fighting. Now, can you imagine if they changed the name of Star Wars to something else?
No, I can't. And I mean, my personal opinion, and this is, I'm in marketing. I work in marketing. I direct and shoot a lot of ads now. But my personal opinion is that there are a lot of mistakes made by the marketing world, especially when it comes to creativity.
I agree. I really think that a lot of those people are talking out their ass. They don't really know much. And
they definitely are, man.
Yeah. Well, the early marketing of Star Wars was once it kind of Lucas took over, with Empire Strikes, once it got to that, Empire Strikes Back, I feel like they were on course. But what you do so well in the film is give this history, and then kind of and really inside baseball stuff. about how posters are produced. That I found incredibly fascinating because I wrote a book years ago, the Ultimate Film Festival Survival Guide. And one of the things I do in the book is I interview a poster designer who talks about these are the things, the 10 things that should be on every poster. He doesn't tell you exactly graphically necessarily what to do. So these 10 things are generally the things that are the checklist of things that should be in a good poster design. But I'm curious.
Cool. It's good he's not specific, like a dinosaur.
Right. Yeah. A dinosaur would be
5.
Although that could be a series. You could put dinosaurs into Sophie's Choice, but with a
there you go.
Schindler's List, but with a dinosaur on the poster.
There you go.
But with regard to yourself, like, do you have like that checklist of like, if you're gonna have, because as someone who's a longtime poster collector like yourself, there's a criteria for why something's in your collection, and it generally isn't the poster that is the traditional one. I do love that IMAX will do their own poster for a movie. Like this was the IMAX release of, say, Guardians of the Galaxy or something, right? Like,
yeah, and they actually tend to hire many of the same artists that kind of come from the screen printed poster art movement, right, as well. If you ask me, I have no guarantees here. I don't want to get taken to court for libel, but if you ask me, I think that the whole IMAX trend came from the popularity of the screen printed poster collector world. They saw that it was really kind of growing and that people were really interested in that type of art. And I think they made the smart decision to just kind of capitalize on it and jump on it and see what they can do with it. But I too am glad that they're doing it, if only because it keeps illustration in film poster art alive somewhat. Again, we don't tend to see it on the one sheets as much anymore, whereas back in the day it was exclusively illustrated. But at least it's still out there in one form or another, and the art isn't completely lost, which again is, you kind of talked about how we go through the history and everything else of the poster art. At the end of the day, the film really is about specifically illustration in poster art and kind of how it disappeared and where it went. And then we kind of follow it. So that's how we get to the Mondo stuff and the screen printed stuff and the more modern stuff, was because that's where illustration in film poster art ended up after Hollywood just gave illustrators the finger and told them to beat it. Like overnight, they just disappeared. An entire art form for one sheets just gone. Sad.
Well, you have that footage from like a focus group and this comes up over and over, where the focus group like, well, I don't know if it's painted. It looks like it's a cartoon. And so the illustrated poster art, like the very first poster for Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's the correct title of the movie. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's some bullshit that Disney put on there. So fuck Disney. The correct title for that film is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the best poster is the original poster painted and illustrated by, I think that's a Drew Struzan, if I'm correct.
One of them is a Struzan poster, I believe. That's another
the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there's another one done by Richard Amsel as well.
Right. Oh God, another great artist from that realm.
Yeah, legendary. There's a film that's in the works actually about him, a documentary film that Eric Sharkey and I have been talking with the director, Adam, who appears in my film, Adam McDaniel. Mm-hmm. And he is actually working on a documentary about Richard Amsel, which I can't wait to see, because Adam's a fantastic director and the absolute authority on Richard Amsel's work. So I think he's going to put together something incredible.
Well, didn't Amsel do the Flash Gordon poster, the Sam Jones Flash Gordon movie? I think he did one of them.
He did, yes. Yeah, you're right. Also, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Oh, so awesome. But this what I really think you captured so well at this documentary, not just the history, but the inside baseball. The thing also that's touched on is how I guess you could just say Suits, right? How the Suits kind of see this, because I feel like there's almost we have to do a poster, right? Because that's how you sell a movie.
Yeah,
it's almost like the sort of like almost dismissiveness, which really disheartening about the poster as an art form, and how much the legal, a lot of times I'll look at a poster now and I'll think all of those people, like I referenced earlier, the Coming to America 2 poster with Eddie Murphy. I'm looking at that poster, I'm going like, all of those people on that poster had really good lawyers and talent managers.
Yeah.
And even I know for a fact that it gets down to the size percentage of your face on the poster. Something they all had good representation that allowed them to push to get on the poster. I counted 21 people are on that horrible Coming to America 2 poster that's just god awful.
I haven't even seen it yet, but
Google it. It's terrible. But it's to me that to me represents everything wrong with the modern poster and how it's not respected as an art form. It's like it's the legal department and people that it's like not even. They're good people in marketing that know their stuff. I feel like Star Wars.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of fucking people in marketing whose job is just to give feedback. Like that's their entire existence, and half the time it's feedback on things that they don't really have any sense of how it's created, right? Whether it's feedback on art and they're not an illustrator,
right,
or a graphic designer or an artist, or it's feedback on a commercial or on an edit when they're not an editor. You end up in a lot of rooms when you work in marketing with people who are just there to say something. And what ends up happening is you end up with people looking for a flaw because they feel like they have to say something or make a correction in order to justify their being there. And regrettably, that's no way to get the best results out of any type of art form. Obviously discussions need to be had, revisions need to be made. But I think where things have been pushed with movie poster art is so far into the realm of just the guys who are making the revisions just want it to be so much easier to say, change this, and it can be changed on a dime. And that unfortunately means you have to take illustration out of the equation because, a true piece of art has hours and hours and hours of labor put into it. And it's illustrated, it's painted, it's done, and you can't just make a change like that on a whim, the last second before the poster is supposed to go out the door or whatever it is, which is also how how a lot of people in marketing love to make their decisions in the 11th hour. So it makes it easier for them ultimately to make those changes or to ensure that everything is, like you said, buttoned up tight for the legal department, and so-and-so's face is bigger than so-and-so's face by 13 millimeters or whatever the hell it is in the contract. And I'm sure that's great for absolutely everybody but the audience and the people who care about the art, I suppose.
Well, there is you mentioned the people that sit in those meetings that feel obligated to give a note, even though they don't have anything really smart to say. And they feel like they have to say something critical, even though they don't come from a place of expertise or knowledge to be able to give anything that may actually be useful to the artist. There's a technical term for that person. It's called fucking moron. And I have been in rooms with those people when I have worked in the corporate world. I have been in rooms with those people, and they're fucking morons and fucking idiots, which is why I really enjoy what I'm doing now, which is I don't have to sit in rooms with those fucking morons.
That's perfect. That's excellent.
I love it. But Kevin, your documentary is amazing. I want to invite you to do a watch party with Film Thread at some point. I think that we need to do a watch party. I'm going to talk to you after our little fancy logo goes at the end. But I need to tell people that you have to see this documentary. If you are a fan of movie posters, you're a fan of cinema and the history of cinema, and you want to know everything, this doc takes a deep dive. It comes from a place of passion and love. And Kevin, you have made an incredible documentary, and I'm so happy that it's out in the world for all to see. I only regret that I didn't discover it until recently. That is
thanks very much, Chris. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Kevin, thank you again for joining us on the Film Threat podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Anytime.